Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into a topic that is highly requested, highly anticipated, but honestly, absolutely filled with hidden complexities. We are talking about Notion's native database automations. Now, if you're an advanced user, you've probably spent, countless hours building out the perfect workspace, and you were probably thrilled when Notion finally rolled out native automations. I know I was. But as we're going to see, they're not exactly the silver bullet they appear to be. Actually, scratch that. If you aren't careful, they can literally cause massive headaches. So today we're going to walk through the hidden traps and the hard truths of Notion automations. Let's get right into it.
There's this quote from an advanced Notion user that just perfectly captures the frustration in the community right now. It goes, "The infrastructure is there, the logic is there, but automations are stuck in caveman mode." Like, wow, right? Hit the nail on the head. If you're a power user, you've definitely felt this exact same pain. You see the potential, you know what your workspace could do, but you just keep slamming into these rigid systemic limitations. You want this smart, interconnected system, but the native tools kind of force you to do things the absolute hardest way possible.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because, look, this isn't just about missing features or minor annoyances. There's actually a massive, workspace-destroying trap just hiding in plain sight inside Notion's automation builder. So we need to ask a pretty serious question here. Are Notion automations actively putting your carefully curated workspace at risk? Let's uncover exactly how one single, innocent-looking setting can literally wipe out hours of your hard work.
Section 1. The Edit Pages Danger. The terrifying default behavior of mass overwrites.
So I'm going to act as your cautionary guide here for a minute and point out a critical danger zone that literally every workspace admin needs to be aware of. Let's look at the Edit Pages in action. It's a native Notion automation step, and it's designed to let you modify properties across pages in a target database whenever a specific trigger fires. So, for example, if a project status changes to complete, you might want to automatically change the status of all the related subtasks to complete as well. Makes sense, right? Sounds incredibly useful, and, well, it is. But there is a catastrophic flaw in how it's set up by default.
Let's walk through this complete nightmare scenario step by step. Step 1, you select the Edit Pages in action in your automation builder. Step 2, you're in a rush, right? So you forget to add a filter to restrict the target pages. Step 3, the trigger fires and bam! You accidentally overwrite hundreds of database records. Why? Because the default behavior of this action is to update properties in all pages in the target database. Just imagine setting up an automation to rename a task. You miss that one little filter, and suddenly your system defaults to renaming every single page in your massive database to Untitled. Just like that, in a split second, your entire database is wiped of its unique names. It is an absolute heart-stopping disaster.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this very pragmatic caution. You must protect your databases at the permission level. If you're a workspace admin, please do not give your entire team full access to critical databases. Always set their permission levels to can edit content. By restricting that full access, you make sure that everyday users can't just go in, create a flawed automation without a filter, and accidentally trigger a total data wipe. It's just a simple little permissions tweak, but it acts as a massive, vital safety net for your whole setup.
Moving on to Section 2, the chain reaction myth, why automations refuse to talk to each other.
All right, let's shift gears from workspace dangers over to the really rigid system boundaries of Notion. Our expectation is totally normal, right? We expect that automated changes will trigger subsequent automations in a seamless workflow. You imagine this awesome domino effect. Automation A finishes, which triggers automation B, which then triggers automation C. Beautiful. But the reality, Notion automations only react to manual user edits or physical button clicks. Period. Notion basically just delivers very simple, basic trigger action pairs. So if one automation edits a page, that automated edit will absolutely not trigger a secondary automation. The system fundamentally just refuses to talk to itself.
And this brilliantly illustrates Section 3, missing logic and relations, the frustrating wall of linear triggers.
So because automations can't chain together, we quickly hit this incredibly frustrating wall of linear triggers. If you've been struggling to make Notion act like a true automated CRM or project manager, you're definitely not crazy. Here are the hard native roadblocks. As we literally just talked about, you cannot trigger other automations. Next up, there's absolutely no if-else conditional branching. You can't just say, hey, if the client is a VIP, do this, else do that, all within a single automation. It doesn't work. Third, automations cannot run natively based on a formula changing its value. And finally, and honestly, this is perhaps the most painful one for advanced database architects, native automations completely fail at dynamic cross-database linking.
Let's actually look a bit closer at that final roadblock, dynamic linking, because this is a specific frustration echoed super loudly by the community. You want an automation to say, hey, when a page with date X is created in database A, automatically link it to the page with date X in database B. The logic is so simple, right? But the manual reality? You are stuck manually clicking into a relation property and hunting for dates in a drop-down menu that half the time sorts in a completely randomized, nonsensical order. You simply cannot automatically relate a page in database A to a page in database B based on matching data, like dates, using the native tools. It's a real bottleneck.
Which brings us to Section 4, when to go external, knowing when to use the escape hatch. So what do we actually do with these hard truths? Well, you have to categorize your needs and honestly know when to stop forcing Notion to do things it natively just can't do. Notion native automations, those should be strictly reserved for your simple manual trigger action pairs. Think of things like checking a box to stamp a date or changing a status to assign a teammate. Easy stuff. But when you hit those big roadblocks, when you absolutely need conditional if-else logic, multi-step branching, or those cross-database dynamic relations, that is exactly when you need to export the workflow to external tools like Zapier or Make. Utilizing webhook buttons in Notion to trigger these external platforms is pretty much the only way to maintain your efficiency and truly scale your workflow without hitting Notion's native ceiling.
And you might be wondering, why is it so important to automate properly externally? While psychological research tells us a pretty harsh truth about task switching, when you rely on manual inputs, like constantly searching for dates in a relation dropdown or manually clicking buttons just to satisfy Notion's rigid trigger requirements, you are task switching. And task switching can cost you up to 40% of your productive time. That's a massive hit. By fully externalizing those complex, chained automated systems, you actually reclaim that 40% because the system works silently in the background, eliminating all that manual friction that native Notion automations currently force on you.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. I want you to look at your own Notion workspace today and just ask yourself this one question. Are you building workflows, or are you just building workarounds? If you're constantly dodging the edit pages and trap, or you're manually fighting the lack of conditional logic day in and day out, it might be time to stop fighting the native system and explore external webhooks for your advanced needs. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack all this, and I really hope this helps you build a safer, much smarter workspace. Catch you next time.